So today's Tanya. Today's the 3rd of Iyar, and we're broadcasting from Tzfat, Israel. So Tanya basically is a book of contemplation. Now, the world has become very into the idea of meditation. Why are people so into meditation? Into meditation because but they need to relax. And meditation is a way of relaxing. We were kind of discussing this before. Um, we're discussing cannabis. Obviously, a lot of people are into cannabis today. And again, I think a lot of people are into cannabis. You probably know this better than me. They're probably into it because they want to relax. Am I correct? Yeah. So it helps people. But what if somebody is relaxed? This guy went to India and he learned all these things. It wasn't a Jewish guy, and he came back to his grandfather in Ireland, and he says, "Wow, you can learn how to quiet the mind." So his grandfather's farmer says, "I have a quiet mind." So what if you are relaxed already? Then what do you do, right? So the Torah, and this sort of what we were discussing before, the Torah is kind of talking to a healthy person. Now, there's a place when people are not healthy. The Torah tells us to go to a doctor. There's room for, as the Rebbe himself said, for meditation, kosher meditation, when somebody needs to relax. But generally speaking, there's nothing that God didn't give us. A person that davens every day will be able to do the meditation because you're saying the same words and you're connecting to Hashem. And all of this is really by way of introduction to say that the Tanya is taking us to the next level, right? Because the highest level of the secular person is still the kind of basic level of Judaism, right? The highest level of the secular person, basically you're not stressed, you have food on your table, all is well. But that's like, okay, we take that for granted. And now, what's the purpose and meaning of life? So that's why it says the Torah, B'goyim al time, you can't trust the nations of the world or secular wisdom to have the meaning of life that is only in the Torah. Chachma B'goyim, wisdom, they have, I don't know, they tell you what 2 plus 2 equals 4, or water boils at 210, or, this medicine has that result. You go to a non-Jewish doctor, but you can't ask the meaning of life of anyone but Hashem, because Hashem gave us the meaning, which applies for Jews and it applies for Gentiles. This is our goal in life, which is to understand the meaning of life, and that only comes through Hashem. So the Tanya, of course, is based on an idea, which is that all of our thought, speech, and action come from either love or fear. So I have a desire to feel good. We all have a desire to feel good, and we all have a desire to not feel suffering and pain. And that kind of motivates it. Now, if you want to have a new love, because the body, every animal, billions and trillions of animals, and they are absolutely working fine. Nobody taught them how to go, I don't know, hunting, or how to fly, or how a little worm is going and it's getting its food, because it's all instinctual, and they get hungry like we get hungry. They need whatever they need. So the point is that we all have to reach a point where we are able to create a new desire within ourselves. That's sort of what I was saying before, which is the goal of Judaism, is that you can create new desires, new goals. And in fact, one of the most important ideas of the Rebbe is you can always be even more new than the day before. You always, because Hashem is infinite, and the Torah, really the lessons of Hashem is infinite, and therefore we are infinite. We can always learn and grow more than we are. There's no limitation to growth. And one of the most beautiful examples of this is, imagine, I remember a boy that I was teaching once. He was a young kid. He was like, "Yeah, we've discovered everything there is technologically." And everybody always thought that. They had the wheel. Wow, we are the most sophisticated generation. They had the typewriter. They had the telegram. Everybody thought they were smart. Turns out that compared to those things, it's like a joke. I remember my daughter, she's very precocious when she was young. She goes, "Tati, in the olden days when you were born," from her perspective, she was born into cell phones, right? So to me, was the olden days. And to her kids, it will really be the olden days. Cell phones, who knows what's going to be coming? Technology is built on technology. So that's what's happening on the physical world. Imagine what's happening in the spiritual world. Because the physical world, as the Rebbe says, is a reflection of the spiritual world. So it means we're entered in a time, if we can imagine that physically things are going to get better and better. So spiritually, what spiritually is mainly self-growth, everything is going to get better and better. Now, this is a very, very important thing to understand, which is ultimately what is the way of things to get better? How do we get things? How do I grow all the time? So the Rebbe has a talk, and the Rebbe speaks about David HaMelech. He paid somebody, or he offered some kind of reward, whoever could go into the Plishtim, into the there was, I don't know, the Plishtim had this well. There was a well. He wanted water from that well. So the Rebbe explains that we all have a well. It's our inner heart. Now, the inner heart, maybe there are guards around that heart, blocking the access between the mind and the heart. That the mind should be able, because a tzaddik is somebody that can go like this, for example. When somebody once told the Rebbe that, this is the story that I heard, the Rebbe was online to the previous Rebbe, and behind him was a doctor, and the doctor said, we just discovered in the 1940s, smoking is not healthy. In fact, there's a doctor, I forgot his name, I don't know why, I think his name is Gerber, very famous, a nutritional doctor. So he says it took 7,000 studies that smoking is bad before the Surgeon General had to put out a warning. So they couldn't do it after 6,000 studies. How many millions of lives died in terrible ways because of this? So in any event, so the doctor said, okay, we came out with a study that smoking is unhealthy. Everybody smoked those days. Everybody. In fact, it's not. It makes me a little sad to see that in Israel people are still smoking. It's very unhealthy. So then the Rebbe, the doctor, after he tells the Rebbe this, offers the Rebbe a cigarette. Right? I remember seeing it's like an article. The doctors got together, they're all discussing healthy eating, and then they all go to McDonald's, right? It's easy to talk, it's not so easy to do. So the Rebbe says to him, I don't smoke. In 1 second, the Rebbe changed. In other words, that's a tzaddik. The tzaddik says, I need to do something, and one thing you got to give credit to Israelis, when they make a decision, we even have people here, that's it, they go. You know, I was here, and this lady decides, okay, I got to cover my hair, that's it. Today, Americans, it takes you 7 years before you can make a change, right? So, right? So there is that kind of concept of having a self-discipline, access to your heart. But real access to your heart is really being able to change your emotions. And that's really what Tanya is all about, which is creating love and fear of Hashem. And we're in the middle of studying chapter 44 in Tanya. Just want to make sure what I'm saying is correct. Yeah, we're in the middle of chapter, is that correct? Chapter 44? We didn't start a new chapter. Yeah, we're in the middle of chapter 44. And so chapter 44, already in one chapter, it speaks about 4 different kinds of loves for Hashem. We're not going to go into them because yesterday I put out a little video. The reason I'm doing this video on Tanya is because somebody came here and he told me that he YouTube Tanya and he didn't see videos. So I figured there has to be videos on Tanya on YouTube. So that's why I'm doing this. So yesterday we spoke about there's what's called Ava Rabba, and there's Avas Olam, and there's Nafshi V'Sicha. But today's Tanya in chapter 44 gives us a new kind of, and this is what I don't like to call them meditations. I like to call them contemplation. Why? Because the whole structure of Chassidus is the belief that you can contemplate something. For example, if I told you, I don't know, if you take this, I don't know, herb, you'll live forever. Trust me, there'll be a line from here for 1,000 miles for this herb. Why? Because it's a contemplation. This herb equals that. So the whole idea of a healthy person is to be able to say, okay, this is a good idea. An unhealthy person is run by their emotion. Kind of, we're discussing this before. The problem with addiction is that the addict is run by an emotion. It's not whether it's a chemical. There are many forms of addiction. There could be even relationship and different types of situations. A healthy person is starting. It's called machshava dibur ma'isa. Now, a human being is built the other way around. First, we go into action, then we can speak, and then we can think But then we have to reverse the process. Our thinking has to influence our speaking, and our speaking has to influence our action. So the immature person, the person that the emotion is in charge of them, the emotion is in control of their thought process. Um, we know it says there are three things that rule a person: the mind, moyach, the heart, the lev, and the liver, the kavod. Now, if your mind is in charge of your emotions, the lev, and your kavod, your ego, then you are a melech, you're a king. If your emotions are in charge of your mind and your ego, then you are a lemech, a clown. Like little children are very funny. Why? Because their emotions are in charge, and they're like just blurting out emotions, so it's cute. But if your kavod, if your ego, a person becomes narcissistic and they think that they're God and the whole world needs to listen to them, so then you are klum, you're actually nothing. When Moses was told by God, I'm going to show you, take you to the essence of Pari. It says, Boyel Pari, very famous thing from the Zohar. So Hashem said, I will take you to the essence of Pharaoh. So Moses was afraid. Imagine going to the essence of now, it wasn't like a president of the United States. He was like he was like literally, in a way, the king of the world. But when he came into essence, he realized what we realize now in retrospect: he was a nothing. He was a nobody. This whole thing was zero, right? His whole country is nothing. The whole thing, they don't even speak the same language. The people are gone. All these empires, it's all nothing. It's just a hubris. It's just an image. That's all it is. It's a false reality. So a person who thinks that they are God is just a false reality. It's whatever comes from low self-esteem, whatever, it's cover up, whatever it is. Now, so the point of the matter is that our mind has the capacity not only to control our emotions, but to create new emotions. And that's the idea of the Tanya, is that we have contemplations, and these contemplations, these ideas, give rise to new emotions. And these new emotions give rise to new behaviors, thought, speech, and action. So what is the contemplation today? Today the Alter Rebbe is discussing, let's call it a contemplation, which he says is even greater than the previous contemplation, which was about understanding that Hashem is really my own soul. So just like a person longs for their own life force, let's say, God forbid, somebody's sick, they long to be healthy, and somebody's tired, they long to have energy. So somebody like this can identify Hashem as his own soul. Once he identifies Hashem as his own soul, then he feels this love for Hashem as he feels himself. But today, Alter Rebbe discusses an even higher love for Hashem. And what is this love? This is a love which is born from understanding that Hashem is like your father. Now, why is that even greater than understanding yourself? Because we find, the Zohar says, that a person can love their parents even more than themselves. I forgot exactly how it goes, but like a son that is ready to give his own life for his parents. And we truly see this with children, that children can have such a deep admiration and respect and love for their parents that they consider their parent greater than them, and they're willing to give their life for their parent. So such a reality is a powerful, powerful love, even more than you love yourself. So greater than the love that I love Hashem because he's like myself, I love Hashem because Hashem is my father, and I have this great kind of desire to please him, and I'll do anything for him. So if you could imagine, for example, all of the greatest people you respect, and imagine that they are your father, let's say the Rebbe, wow, you'd be ready to do anything for him. And that is the way we should feel towards Hashem. And this, of course, evokes a tremendous and a powerful love for Hashem. So that is the Tanya for today.